Mastodons, Angels, East Hants, Nova Scotia, Saskatoon. In a game that does not have a lot of implications. They're both 3-2. So one team's going to finish third. The other team's going to finish fourth. They'll both be in single life playoff situations tomorrow.
Yeah, so preserving the big arms and the big bodies. But there's still some positioning and jockeying left to play for here. And would you rather finish third in the pool and play the fourth place team, or be that fourth place team and have to play third in the other pool? And to me, I'd always rather play the lower place team just about every time.
Well, the starting pitcher for East Hants is Travis Nevin. And he has already recorded one out, facing Jim Shirley. On the ground, short hop, handled well. And the Mastodons who are the only team since 2012 to win, not named Galway Hitman or some facsimile, depending on the name. This is an interesting team to watch, and the reason for me, Blair, is because of all the youngsters on their team.
I really like the job that the Nova Scotia people have done to bring along this group of now 23-ish age players. The Brody Frasers, the David Bubba Watsons, the Nick Whites, and so many others that are out on this field here. They played together as a Canada Games team the last couple of years. They went up to the Canada Games in the Niagara region. Softball was played up at Southward Park in Grimsby and come home with a silver medal. And were one of the most exciting teams to watch, too.
Laskowski with another base hit. Justin over the head of the second baseman, and it's the first hit of the game is Justin Laskowski. 6 for 15 now in this championship. And Jesse Osika, the veteran, batting in the number 4 spot tonight. No Devin McCullough, who generally would bat in the number 3 spot in the lineup for the Saskatoon Angels. Started well, then had a rough day, and then had a good day. That's really been their story.
Yeah, up and down.
But a good team, and will not be an easy out in the playoffs, I wouldn't think, for anyone.
Not with Devin McCullough on the board, that's for sure.
Zach Pierce. We're going to get a chance to see Jordan Hudson throw tonight. Travis Nevin with a nice drop ball on Jesse Osika. Osika 1 for 7 in the tournament. Two games left in the round robin. Nice rise ball from Travis Nevin to record the strikeout. Saskatoon with a hit, leave 1. And the Mastodons coming to bat when we return to Softball City. A look at Jordan Hudson in the circle for Saskatoon, making his first appearance in this final round robin game for both these teams. Jordan, no stranger, he's 24. Pitched 11 2/3 innings at the U23 World Cup in Paraná, Argentina, with a record of 1-1, struck out 19, walked 3. Had a win over Israel and a loss to Japan in that event. And great speed. And then a throwaway. Are they going to send him home? Why not? Hello, Nick White, on the topic of young players who helped Nova Scotia win a silver medal at the Canada Summer Games last summer. A chopper. He was going for 2 all the way. Then the throw from right gets away. Well, that's an interesting way to open the scoring in a game.
Just keep running.
He can fly. And the batter is Irma Alberta's Brett Larson, playing for this Nova Scotia group. So tough luck for Jordan Hudson. The high chopper, no chance that anybody was going to track it down and prevent a base hit, but the speed of Nick White, they talk about speed kills, and it did there, giving the East Hants Mastodons, who we saw actually all the way back in our first game here, Blair, on Wednesday afternoon.
They have been up and down since then. They've lost a couple of games, but put together a 3-2 record to come into this one. And it'll be interesting to see tonight how they can do without Justin Schofield, because he has been the main man in the circle for the Mastodons, certainly for their Canadian championship back in 2017, but really since this team came together in 2013. David Watson and now tonight Travis Nevin are a couple of guys that need to help carry the load a bit.
Jordan Hudson hits Brett Larson, and he gets on board the hard way. There really isn't a lot on the line here. I know that we've kind of already had that conversation.
I guess it's all about would you rather finish third than fourth, and what are you willing to do to make that happen? And as we see, it's going to be up to some of the role players and support players to make it happen for each of these teams.
Well, and remember, in the red pool, an unbalanced situation here this week with Manitoba dropping out fairly late. So they're in a pool where they're playing their 6th game in 3 days, which again, you talk about the wear and tear on pitchers and key pitchers, and I have to tell you, if I was managing one of these teams, I'm probably going down the same road that they're both going down. You're not seeing Schofield and you're not seeing McCullough. Not for me. Not when you might have to throw them 4 or 5 times on the weekend.
Yeah, neither of them will see the field tonight, although already there is some action as headed down to the bullpen are a couple of guys right out of the Angels bench.
Patrick and Pierce. And it looks like Patrick might be in the lead in that.
Yeah, he just got the ball handed to him, so Nick Patrick.
On the ground, tough play at short. And some differences around the diamond, too. That's another factor for Saskatoon in this game. Cole Reed, we've not seen a lot of Cole in the tournament, is the shortstop. Ball got on him in a hurry. So runners at first and second, and still nobody out with Nick White already in the dugout. On a chopper that he was going to turn into a double and an overthrow that sent him all the way home. And it didn't take him very long to get there either. And the batter is another youngster, 19-year-old Brody Fraser. Another Nova Scotia Canada Summer Games silver medalist goes to drop down a bunt and obviously caught a piece.
Brody's the two-time MVP in the Shooters Bar and Grill League down in Nova Scotia, the top league there.
He will not turn 20 until the 17th of November. He was 13 for 25 at the Canada Summer Games in Grimsby in the Niagara region. That's where they held the softball, as Blair mentioned. He had 3 home runs. We're at a home run and 3 RBIs in a game against Ontario, not the championship game. They played 2 times in a row. And Fraser goes down on strikes against Hudson.
He has been struggling to get on track here this week.
Well, it's a tough event when you're 19 years of age. A roller. Brett Casey at first, Osika at second. Reed is at short. Laskowski, who can play all over, is at third with Taylor Barber in center. Darren McCullough, Devin's brother, in left. Up the middle, Reed steps on the bag. That's a nice way to come right back for Cole Reed, starting a double play. Saskatoon gives up 1 in the bottom of the first in the final round-robin game for these 2 playoff-bound teams. Look at the umpiring group. Kevin Wallace behind home plate, Nick Allen. And over at third is Ryan Weber. 1-0 for East Hants, Nova Scotia, the Mastodons against Saskatoon, the Angels. Both teams entering this final round-robin game, playoff-bound, and records of 3-2. Travis Nevin, Blair, pitching in his 3rd game of this tournament. He's now thrown 6 innings, has given up 5 runs, struck out 11, and walked a couple. so far this week, is to no one's surprise.
Rise ball pitcher, lots of velocity from Travis. A lot of strikeouts, but as you just noted too, can give up some hits and big numbers.
Punched. A base hit. And another young player, Braden Woodworth, has a little trouble with it. And Saskatoon has a runner in scoring position. It's their second hit of the game. And here is Jordan Hudson. Fouled back. A pretty nice crowd here this afternoon for that excellent battle between Bear Creek and Grand Prairie. Ended with a Tyler Pauli walk-off home run in the bottom of the 7th. So Bear Creek involved in a couple of gems today. The first one was a 6-5 loss in the first game this morning that we called against Toronto, who ended up finishing first in that pool. Bear Creek second, Grand Prairie third, and fourth place.
Likely Souk.
Likely Souk.
Not a done deal.
Have to play Physio and Co. from Newfoundland in the final game of the round robin. That will close it out tonight. And then we get set for the playoffs on the weekend.
Galway Hitmen will be winning the other pool, currently leading Niagara Stompers 11-0. And I notice from some of the young players, Donnie Scott's son is pitching for Niagara Stompers right now. Keenan Bateman is a young player out of Niagara Falls. He's playing shortstop for the Stompers. He's only 18 years old. And a nice play over there by the catcher from the Stevenson Canadians.
What a great opportunity for those teams, whether it was the Vanderhoof, Moby Concrete Rippers, or the Surrey Rebels. You just mentioned the Stevenson Canadians. Getting an opportunity to face the elite of the elite in our country, as this is pounded by Hudson, misread by Kobe Crowell, and Saskatoon ties the game on a Jordan Hudson triple in the top half of the second inning.
Well, it's an adventure out in the outfield right now for Nova Scotia. Crowell broke into his right, and the ball actually tailed away. That's how hard Jordan Hudson hit it, too. It was curving.
Darren McCullough, the batter, with Hudson. Down at third, the pitcher for Saskatoon tonight. Likely to see Mr. Patrick before the evening is out for the Angels. We're not going to see Devin McCullough, but we will see him tomorrow.
And there are going to be some really good matchups up and down the roster tomorrow, whether it's in the 1 versus 2 games or in the 3 versus 4 games.
And Darren McCullough becomes strikeout number 2, as he's an unhappy lad on his way back to the Angels dugout, as Travis Nevin has a couple of strikeouts in the game. Cole Reed, the shortstop, who ended the last inning. The ball gets away from Patrick Stewart. And racing home from third is Jordan Hudson. And Saskatoon leads it 2-1. Cole Reed, 2 for 5 in the tournament, and has 3 runs batted in, Blair.
Made the most of his opportunities.
Change up. And Levi Denny stays with it at second base. And there are now 2 down with 2 runs in for the Angels here in the top of the second. Brett Casey playing over at third, 35-year-old in his 4th Canadian championship. 4 for 15 with a couple of runs batted in 2022 in Newfoundland. And Brett 0 for 4 so far here in Surrey. Evan's got a little giddy up. First time I've had a chance to see him. He wanted the check swing to turn into strike 3. And
wish granted.
Wish granted indeed. So Saskatoon replies with a couple of their own, and they have a 2-1 lead here in South Surrey. Beautiful day and been the nicest weather day that we've had here as Jordan Hudson goes back to work and faces Kobe Crowell. And Kobe Crowell finds a hole, and he has a base hit.
He would have just been a year too old or 2 years too old for that Nova Scotia Canada Games team, but he's another good young prospect from Nova Scotia. Not this past season, but the one immediately prior, spent with the Waterdown Hammer and played out west with the JB team in 2021.
So Crowell has a leadoff single.
And Peter, just want to correct myself on the pitcher for the Niagara Stompers. And it's Rob Schweier who has adopted the last name of Rob Schweier Scott, as he and his partner have gone with the dual last name. So I do stand corrected on that. And That makes the left side of that infield a little bit younger, but the combined age perhaps a little bit older when you throw in soon to be an inductee. He's a nominee at this point.
That's true.
To the ISC Hall of Fame, Rob Schweier-Scott.
Jacob Hopewell, the batter. And the pitch from Hudson gets away. Crowell with the leadoff single. As the round robin, Blair Setford winds down on this Friday evening.
Playoffs are lurking, looming.
Really excited about those tomorrow. We'll crown a champion here on Sunday. And that will, by and large, put the softball season for 2023, at least at this level, to bed.
Yeah, there are still a couple of tournaments around. There will be an ISC qualifier in Ontario and town of Chepstow up near the Georgian Bay Peninsula.
What teams will play in that, Blair?
They will be, by and large, league teams. A couple of teams out of Kitchener, one from Niagara Falls, a couple of local teams, Georgian Bay, Wyerton, Chepstow, obviously the host team. Got a team coming from Walton out of the Huron County League.
And next year's ISC World Tournament is right here, starting August 10th. Rowan Sears on the topic of another talented young player from Nova Scotia. I'm really excited to watch this group progress. That collection of silver medal winning young men on this team.
There were 9 Nova Scotia players on the tournament circuit this year playing for various Ontario teams. Great experience for all of them. And they're only going to get better and better. And there's more to come, too, which is a real exciting thing for Softball Nova Scotia. And that is a real nice pipeline that teams need to be tapping into.
I think it's awesome. We hear so much about Newfoundland, and for good reason, in this sport on the men's side. On the ground, Hudson fields his position well and throws over to Casey for the out. Rowan Sears has already played in a World Junior Men's Championship back in 2018 for his country.
Next batter, left fielder, number 57, Braden Woodward.
Braden Woodward, he's just 20, had a 3-run homer versus Circle Tap at the ISC World Tournament. That's something he'll remember.
Especially on getting onto the main diamond, which not everybody got the opportunity to do so.
He was 12 for 30 at the Canada Summer Games, batted .400. 3 home runs, 11 runs batted in, had 2 home runs in 1 game with 4 runs batted in against New Brunswick. Into the hole as he hit here, and a run batted in for 20-year-old Braden Woodworth. And the Mastodons have drawn even with the Saskatoon Angels.
Next up, center fielder, number 92, Nick White.
And Nick White, who had a very interesting at-bat in the bottom of the first, a chopper, went into right field. His great speed was going to allow him to turn it into a double. The throw from Kalen Robinson got away, and he scored. And Nick comes back up He's 20. A lot of good-looking 20-year-olds as far as players are concerned.
Yeah, future is bright. Spent the year with Hill United, got to absorb that championship atmosphere. He'll have the opportunity perhaps to go back for another season and be a defensive replacement and a pinch runner, or take that and go on to a mid-level team and look to build his case. Either way, it is a great opportunity. Sky's the limit for a lot of guys like Nick White.
Well, Nick White goes down on strikes, but the Nova Scotia East Hants Mastodons push a run across the board in a 2-2 tie after 2.
Kalen Robinson to lead things off, top of the shop for Saskatoon Angels. Fouls that one into the screen. Kalen a ground out in his first at bat, leading off for the Angels. Down in the bullpen for the Mastodons is David Watson. Travis Nevin here in the third. Robinson, Shirley, and Laskowski for the Angels. And chases upstairs. Good rise ball from Travis Nevin for the first out here in the third. His third strikeout of the game.
Next batter, catcher number 10, James Shirley.
Angels looking to regain the lead that they had momentarily. Shirley grounded out to second base. Nevin, a little touch on the Gorilla Gold rag as you get a good look there at James Jim Shirley. Called a strike. Home plate umpire Kevin Wallace from Shipman, Illinois. He and Glenn Brown are the two exchange umpires from USA Softball working here this week with a Softball Canada crew. Softball Canada sends a couple of umpires to the USA National event. That was in Mankato, Minnesota, beginning of August, just a month ago now. And I see from the arrival out in front of us of the Galway Hitmen that their game with the Niagara Stompers has come to an end. Ryan Boland, Bradley Ezekiel. Stephen Mullally, who's got a ball uniform on, just arrived today. Are we seeing a comeback that was unannounced, or perhaps guest coaching would be my guess? Steve's in phenomenal shape since he left the game a year ago with the Galway Hitmen taking the championship in his home province. Steve has taken up ultra marathons because running regular marathons just wasn't enough. Shirley aboard on the walk. And if you were with us this morning, you heard a great chat between Peter Labardius and Steve Mullally. Laskowski chases one way upstairs. A stolen base for Shirley. Got the uniform dirty. And a high hopper through the infield and getting the wave. Here comes Shirley. Here's the throw and slides in safely. Jim Shirley showing some good wheels with the stolen base and then coming around to score. And the Angels back out in front 3-2. Justin Laskowski with the RBI. The walk to Shirley comes back, and we've got a discussion here as Chris Hopewell is out to have a conversation with our home plate umpire. And actually it was obstruction is the call, and you see Stewart has got the leg straddling the line. And by rule now, you cannot do that until you have the ball. You have to give the runner a clear lane to the plate.
Let's just say, sorry, Blair. I know. Could hear me in Abbotsford. Let's just say, and I'm not going to share the whole story, but an obstruction call at the Canada Cup tournament led to 2 protests on the same play with 2 different results. And I'm going to keep it at that because I'm going to get in trouble with somebody if I go any farther. It was not. Well,
let's just say that's a ridiculous outcome for everybody involved. And I didn't see it, and you haven't told me any details, but I'm telling you that is a ridiculous outcome.
But every time now I see an obstruction play and a call, I go there. Or it makes me think about it anyway. So.
And whether you like the rule or not, it's there to try and prevent those collisions at home plate and protect the safety of the players. Everybody here will be going back to work on Tuesday.
And that's such a fantastic point you make. They will. There are some guys that are doing okay monetarily, but nobody's breaking the bank playing softball.
Not at any level.
No, absolutely not.
Good pitch here from Travis Nevin, a low rise on the outside corner, and sits down Jesse Osaka. Laskowski still out at second base. Matt Kutnikoff singled and got up to second on the outfield error. And then coming around to score the RBI by Jordan Hudson.
4 hits apiece. There's been 1 Saskatoon error, and that happened on the first at-bat for Nova Scotia for Nick White.
Well, I think that is some generous scoring to not have credited the Mastodons with an error on one of those plays as well, but we'll not pick at that particular scab.
No.
Not in this game. Chasing upstairs goes Kutnikoff. He's down on strikes, but the Angels strike for 1. They'll take a 3-2 lead and try to hold that as we'll go to the bottom of the third. The Mastodons coming back to the plate. You get a look there at Jordan Hudson, and that's the third of the 3 pitchers that were with the Canada U23 squad down in Paraná in Argentina. We've seen Riley Mannion today. We've seen Reese Yancey today as well. They were combined for a Bear Creek Express win over the Grand Prairie Pirates.
And that pitching staff did not receive a lot of hitting as support, unfortunately, for Canada and Argentina. I know people were pretty disappointed with the result.
It's a hard one. Hopper down to third, but playing right on the line is Justin Laskowski.
National team member over at third base tonight. Justin, I think, really starting to come into his own. Strong throw across the diamond, made it look easy.
Had a good season with Circle Tap and showing that V-word versatility that we have been talking about here this week with the brass all here at Softball City, keeping an eye on all these great Canadian players. And Justin Laskowski certainly going to be in the mix and maybe a favorite for a spot, given that he's an incumbent, but I think there's probably only half a dozen spots that you would say are assured. This one is ripped by Travis Nevin as he's aboard for his second time tonight.
Yeah, Travis has done a nice job in the circle. Travis came into this game with 5 hits and 14 appearances. And did a really good job, Blair, taking the ball where it was pitched. Drives it through the hole the other way. As the back and forth runs game may continue here.
This one may come down to whomever scores last, and the Mastodons will have a bit of an advantage as the home team in that one. Brody Fraser to the plate and pokes that one foul on the left side. Brody batting over 500 in the Shooters Bar and Grill League. There you see the lights are on and we are home here at Softball City. Just a picturesque place to place a 4-diamond complex, the best that I have been to, Peter Labardius, in my many, many years in this great game. This is an A1 facility.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's Softball City. It's named. It's in a sensational setting here. And I remember coming here for the Canada Cup Women's Tournament. Would have been in the late 90s, maybe the early 2000s. And then I came back to call the Olympic Women's Qualifying Tournament. I hadn't been here in between, and I drove up, and it literally took my breath away. As someone, and I'm a great lover of stadiums and parks and rinks. Pretty much drive everybody in my world a little crazy because I never drive by one without taking a peek, and this one took my breath away in 2019.
The only one in my experience that would be even remotely close to this would be the Disney complex, where we used to have a men's tournament down there in the 2000s into the early 2010s, and it was the Wide World of Sports complex, then the ESPN complex. The Atlanta Braves, I believe, have their training camp still there.
They do.
And it was marvelous, as you would expect at a Disney facility. That's the only one I can even think of that rivals this. Now, I've not obviously been to some of the terrific facilities that they've got that are throughout the U.S., primarily used on the women's side of the game, as has this facility. Down on strikes goes Patrick Stewart, but we'll come back to that story as we come back to the top of the fourth. The Mastodons scoreless for the first time, and the Angels hanging on to that 3-2 lead. Jordan Hudson will try to help his own cause some more. An RBI triple in the second, scored on a wild pitch, pass ball. And right now, this one is fouled back to the screen, and Jordan Hudson will try to add to this Angels lead. 2 in the second, 1 more in the third.
Jordan was 2 for 7 at the ISC World Tournament.
He and Reese Yancey were 2/3 of the staff for the Waterdown Hammer. Clayton Robinson also with the team from Waterdown.
Had his hits against JB. and the Minnesota-based Ostrander team.
JB out of Agora Hills in California, or they were. This one well hit to center, but settling under that without too much to do was Nick White, 1 or 2 steps back.
And it will be a very fun summer if you're a softball fan. And, you know, the other part is, Blair, by the way, while I have a quick second, how'd you like our little visit to White Rock today?
What a picturesque little town that is. Just on the seaside, mountains in the background, the state of Washington across the bay. You and I were chatting, and we both said it reminded me of Huntington or Newport Beach or Laguna Beach in California with the sand and the surf, and people were out kite surfing, and just a beautiful little spot. Had a lovely seaside lunch this afternoon, and a great opportunity to experience, which we don't often get, to experience the community that is hosting us here this week.
Well, it's spectacular, and I'm always, and one of the reasons I brought it up is at the right time of year when the weather is good. I'm not sure it gets too much better anywhere on the planet than in and around. You've had an opportunity. We both love to walk, and my favorite thing outside of being at sporting events or calling them or watching them is walking by water, and you won't find a much better walking city than you have in downtown Vancouver, whether it's Stanley Park or English Bay. On hockey trips, I would just love going there and hope for good weather, and just marvelous. I always mention to people who haven't, at times as Canadians, we can be so busy wanting to go to the United States and other places in the world, and that's great too, but do yourself a favor. There isn't anything we don't have in this country, really, outside of tropical beach, but from one end to the other, it's a pretty spectacular place. It really is.
It really is, and whether you're going east to St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, or to Cavendish Beach in Prince Edward Island, Peggy's Cove, or the Cabot Trail in Nova Scotia, which is
marvelous.
Just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, what a great country we have.
Drilled right back up the middle by Darren McCullough, and he's aboard with a hard hit single with 1 out here in the 4th. I'll bring up Cole Reed.
Nevin might have left that a little more in the middle of the plate than he would have liked. Cole Reed's not played a lot. We're going to have a pinch runner, and I believe that's Ryan Bicknell.
He's been the first guy off the bench to pinch run all week for the Angels.
He is from Prince Albert.
A great softball town.
And they have some pretty spectacular things coming up on their calendar.
On the move, headfirst slide, and in safely is Bicknell. He's out there for one reason, and that is the pure speed.
He had a great jump, the 21-year-old. Bit of a protective swing.
But a bit of a late call, too. I think Patrick Stewart got the call late from the bench. He got a good pitch to handle. It was up, but it almost looked like it took him by surprise.
Bicknell hit .591 for Saskatchewan at the Canada Summer Games in 2022. 4 runs batted in that event, and just played for the host Delisle team at the U23 men's Canadians, and finds himself on second base where Cole Reed is hoping to drive him in with the 4th Saskatoon run.
In for a strike. And that will be strike 3 on Cole Reed. Down looking. Second out of the inning. Brett Casey now to the plate. He was down on strikes to end the second. Just some limited playing time for Brett. I think you mentioned earlier, only half a dozen at bats. But in this game where it's going to be the role players and the supporting cast, here's a good opportunity for Brett Casey to help extend the lead for his Saskatoon Angels. Playing for third place in their pool. It's all about positioning for tomorrow as we start the playoffs.
Yeah, really excited about that. First game slated, unless there are tiebreaker games, which I'll explain in a minute.
High hopper to Brody Fraser. He throws out Brett Casey at first. They strand the runner, and a couple of zeros have gone up in the last 2 half innings. And we'll see if the Mastodons can tie this one up. We'll go to the home half of the fourth. Stay with us here on Softball Premier TV. Back here for the home half. Crowell leading things off for the Nova Scotia Mastodons from East Hants. 40 minutes or so outside of Halifax.
Have not been to East Hants. I've certainly spent some time in Halifax. I was there on January 4th and January 5th of this year. You might guess why.
Might have had something to do with a hockey tournament.
Yes, it did.
I will be there in about 3 weeks, but it's business.
I need to spend more time in that part of the country. I was really lucky on my hockey circuit in the early 2000s. It would take me, the American Hockey League, and I did a number of games there, would take me once a year into St. John's. And I always ended up generally doing at least one junior game a year in Halifax, and really grew to love both places as a result, and was disappointed when I went a pretty, your world changes, and I wasn't doing as much junior hockey anymore, and haven't had a chance to go back. I have been back to Halifax a couple of times. They held the Memorial Cup there a couple of years ago, and then the World Junior. So
Crowell chases upstairs for strike 3. Jordan Hudson looking pretty good right now. Jake Hopewell had a big hit in the opener way back on Wednesday. I know it's only 2 days ago, but it feels like half a lifetime ago right now.
Well, and he has a hit in this game as well, Blair, I believe.
No, that was Crowell that had
Crowell.
The hit in the second. Came around to score.
Yes, he struck out his only time up against Hudson, as I do a better job of trying to see my own scorebook, which now, after having a bit of a visit, is a complete wash.
It is turning out to be a beautiful sky here tonight in Surrey in southern British Columbia as I look out to left, and maybe we can get a shot of the sky, the red sky on the setting sun. I'm assuming somewhere off to the west, if that maybe is the west.
You're looking at the wrong human when it comes to directions.
But it's a beautiful night here in Surrey. We've had coats and sweatshirts on the last couple of nights, but still here in T-shirts tonight.
Yeah, it's superb. Just a beautiful day and a lovely evening. And still one more game to play. And it has a playoff spot on the line for the host team.
There you see the sky as we are into dusk, I would say. And this one is laced out to short right. It's going to fall in front of, and then misplayed by Kalen Robinson. And Jake Hopewell up to second base.
Yeah, punched out into right field, and Robinson had a little trouble. I'm not sure it would not have been a double regardless, but could be scored a hit and an error.
I'm feeling generous tonight. I'm going to go with double for Jake Hopewell.
Fantastic.
Rowan Sears to the plate, grounded out to Hudson, his first trip. Takes a look at strike one. Getting a few more people filling in for what is going to be the final game of the night coming up. Souk Loggers will take on Physio & Co. from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. The Galway squad have all filed in. They've brought their beverages with them, and they'll stay to watch the Physio team. This is the one thing that I really like about the Newfoundland players. They all support each other. This team would have every right to go back to the hotel and watch the game on streaming. They're here and they're going to support their Newfoundland mates.
That's terrific. And yeah, they're all here too. Like, there does not seem to be anybody in the group that isn't down to our left. By the way, I haven't remarked on this. I really like their uniforms.
Yeah, they're quite sharp.
Like the color scheme, good hats.
This one is drilled to center field. Off the fence. Hopewell will come around to score, and Rowan Sears aboard with a scorched double.
Second run batted in for the 23-year-old. Went with the rise ball and drove it to center off the base of the wall, and it's just another one of those young Nova Scotia players that won silver medal at last year's Canada Summer Games. And as I mentioned a little earlier, looking forward to see them grow together.
Braden Woodworth to the plate, and he's got an RBI in this game.
And just 20 years of age. Got a good frame.
Yeah, big strapping young lad. And almost a catch by a fan over there in the stands, but just couldn't hang on. Do not offer that fan a contract.
Well, after the story I told earlier, I have no comment.
He didn't break anything. That's the good news.
Well, see, that's well ahead of me.
Chases downstairs for strike three. Down goes Braden Woodworth. Back to the top of the shop for Nick White.
This is a really good drop ball from Jordan Hudson. Located it perfectly. And Woodworth did not have an answer.
Just this one and couple others to complete the round robin.
Yeah, we have not had an opportunity this week on this diamond to watch Newfoundland's Physio and Co. Could end up with 3 teams in the group with the same record, which would force not 1 but 2 tiebreakers. Souk in the driver's seat. They win. They clinch the 4th and final playoff spot in that group.
High hopper out to short. No play as Nick White runs like a frightened deer.
Nick White can flat out fly. He showed that when he rounded the bases on that odd play back in the first.
Cole Reed just put that in his back pocket. No point in risking an errant throw and giving away extra bases. Rowan Sears stayed at second on that play. Infield hit for White, so we'll go to Brett Larson. Was hit by a pitch back in the first and then grounded out to Laskowski at third in his most recent at-bat.
Blair, that's elite level speed. That's not fast. That's elite level speed that Nick White possesses.
Swing and a miss by Brett Larson. Down go the Mastodons. They strand 2, but they tie the game up 3 apiece through 4 complete. Go to the top of the 5th, and Peter, it might be whoever does score last in this one.
No argument here.
Travis Nevin is back out on the board as we'll go to the top of the 5th. Kalen Robinson leading things off for the 3rd time in the game. Don't often see that where the leadoff batter is also the leadoff hitter 3 times in an inning. And this one is lined out to Kobe Crowell. He'll range back 3-4 steps and haul that one in. And a much better play on that one than the line shot that was out his way earlier.
Just had a chance finally to meet Brad Ezekiel, who you shared with me earlier that he might be shy with a capital S.
The look of terror
when he
on
thought
his
we
face.
were going to bring him up for an interview, poor guy. It's a pretty legendary story, I guess, after he hit that Pan Am gold medal winning 2-run home run in 2015 against Venezuela, which I was lucky enough to be in the park for that Sunday.
Well, Peter Mansbridge called and they said, we want to bring Bradley on set for an interview. And I guess the boys took him out for a couple of pops prior to making their way down to the set. And this, of course, was in the Toronto Pan Am Games for those that may not be aware of the full story. Canada winning the gold medal. Bradley Ezekiel, as you just said, a big 2-run home run. They won that game 2-1. And Bradley put on a pair of sunglasses and a ball hat and went out and did the interview with as few words as possible with Peter Mansbridge.
Well, I just wanted to tell him how much I've appreciated what he's done for the country, and I truly believe he's one of the all-time great hitters in the game. And I don't think I'd get a lot of arguments, Blair.
In the last 10 years, when you have the discussion who are the best players in the game, Bradley Ezekiel has been in that discussion for 10 years. Absolutely no doubt about it.
Now, again, how many great ones going way back, whether it's Marty Kernahan, whether it's Mark Sorensen, you know, the list is so long of incredible players.
And all legends in their era.
Yes.
And nobody wants to play the game of who is the greatest of all time because you can't compare the eras.
No, you can't. Like every other sport, you can't. But again, in Canada, when I think about, and there are many.
Oh, Jody Henniger,
Brian
Colin
Sosnowski. Well, Colin Abbott. I was going to say the two names for me that always kind of come to mind are Abbott, and now, to me, Brad has kind of moved into that territory in his time.
Yeah, when you think of all of the accolades that you can collect in this game, Colin Abbott has all of them. Bradley Ezekiel has all of them. And it's just a question of, in their eras, who has done great things, and both of them have.
Yeah,
and Bradley Ezekiel, I'll tell you this, too. Bradley Ezekiel would tell you, I'm not even in the conversation with Colin.
Of course.
That's how modest he is.
Yeah.
Drilled out to right field. That's a fair ball. That's going to get down and rattle around in the corner. Around second and around to third. Standing up with a triple. Justin Laskowski with his second hit of the game.
Well, Laskowski, a member of Canada's most recent World Cup senior men's team, went 3 for 15 in that tournament in New Zealand in late November and early December. And he had a beat on going to third the minute it left his bat.
Yeah, no hesitation at all coming around second base. And Jesse Osika will try to get a ball out of the infield and score Laskowski and retake the lead for the Angels. Nevin comes right back with a strike. So 0-2 on Jesse Osika. Strikeout looking, strikeout swinging for Jesse tonight. Moved into the 4 spot, too, with all of the lineup changes.
We are not going to see these lineups when these two teams play their first playoff game, as Osika
got all of that one and laces it down towards the parking lot.
Well, Jesse is no stranger to the Canadian Senior Men's Championship, number 22. You got to borrow that light again.
If you put out the call, maybe it will be answered again like last night. This one is chopped foul the other way into the screen.
Jesse's 4th Canadian Championship, the 33-year-old. The Saskatoon Angels have had a couple of different names. Guys have played for Bruno.
Bruno Merchants, yes.
There's a great pitcher for the Bruno Merchants back in the 70s by the name of Dennis Dovin, who had a whale of a changeup. The Souk Loggers, the host team, with a win in the final round-robin game, will earn the final playoff spot in their pool. They had a very Blair difficult schedule. You think about how it began for them. Played the top, really, 3 teams. Well, not really, they did.
They ended up with that order in Toronto and then Bear Creek and then the Pirates. All of them with late inning tight games against Sault, but all of them coming up victorious.
And could have won all of them.
Yeah, Sault could very easily be at the top of this pool. And no prizes for anybody playing 3 versus 4, 4 versus 3, 1 versus 2. The clear favorite, of course, are the Galway Hitmen here, but they're not impervious to an upset.
I always think about it this way with these dynastic groups. And their lineup is, you could put this Galway Hitmen lineup and send it into any world competition, the one that is here, as Osika draws a 2-out walk. You might get them once. You'll never get them twice.
Yeah, we talked about that the other night, that you could put them into any international tournament, either a club team or as an international team representing Newfoundland, much like the Native Mohawks have their own team in the lacrosse series.
Yes.
As we get a mound visit here by Chris Hopewell, number 18. Chris Hopewell, co-host of the Outside the Chute podcast, returning September 18th.
There's some great softball podcasts out there.
Dust Up with Steve Mullally, Jason Hill. Two's Talk, Donnie Atkinson, Dean Holine, and
Keith McIntosh.
Beyond the Dugout, that one seems to be on a bit of hiatus with Chopper, Jason Gerbies, and Damian Collins. Been fortunate enough to be guests on 3 of those 4. Still waiting for the call from Donnie one day. I let him know that too, that I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I'll make that happen.
Well, maybe you could join me if you want on Outside the Chute, because I've been asked to come in and do an ISC and Canadians recap on September 18th. It would be great if you could join us for that one.
Well, they have not called yet. Maybe after this, I'll.
Well, Randy.
Yeah.
Send me a text and I'll show it to Peter. There's Randy Frame down in just outside of Halifax. Truro, I think, is where Randy is.
Yeah, I've listened to all of those shows.
Does a great job.
Yeah, they do.
Kudos to every single one of them. The more people are talking about softball, especially the men's game, the better. Over by the fence and overplayed, and a tough one as it came back in.
Patrick Stewart,
Jake Hopewell running up against the mesh. And you'll see it here. It actually tails back into play, or towards play at least. Those are hard.
and that was a mile high. That was a major league pop-up.
On the move.
That's Zach Pierce.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, it's not Zach Pierce, because
Zach
they wouldn't
Pierce.
be putting Zach Pierce in to run, and Zach Pierce out there running. That's why he's called Zippy, says somebody over to my right.
Mr. Beatty.
Swing and a miss there.
Another good Saskatchewan lad.
And Peter, the text just came in. You are absolutely invited to be on the outside the chute.
Well, I look forward to it. I have absolutely loved my 2 or 3 appearances on the Saskatchewan-based Twos podcast.
This is pitcher Nick Patrick at the plate. Swing and a miss down on strikes. The Angels will strand a pair. Pitchers hitting and running all over the park for Saskatoon, but they can't push a run across. Go to the home half of the fifth. Still knotted at 3. Maybe Justin Schofield will get to swing it back coming up.
Angels and Mastodons, Loggers and Physio and Co. will close out the round robin, Blair.
Brady Woods and Eric Healy, the pitchers. Brady Woods for the Sauk Loggers, Eric Healy, Physio and Co. Eric Healy, somebody to keep an eye on. Good young pitcher from Newfoundland and Labrador.
Looking forward to watching him. Now Jordan Hudson finds himself in a 3-3 tie. Both these teams are 3-2. They have already earned playoff spots. It's a matter of who's going to be third and who's going to be fourth and who their opponent will be tomorrow, respectively.
Well, we know Grand Prairie Pirates are in the 3 spot in that pool. As down on strikes goes Travis Nevin. At the moment, it looks a little bit like this. The Toronto Batmen will play the Niagara Stompers. The Galway Hitmen will take on Bear Creek. Those are the 2 crossover 1-2 games. Batman and Galway, the division winners. And the seeding holding true there as they were the gold and silver medalists, respectively, Galway and Batman.
In Newfoundland last year.
Pirates in third. They'll play the loser of this game. The winner will likely, but not certainly, play Sauk. Still got to play the games.
Who's in the leadoff spot tomorrow at 11?
That's a great question. The Batman and Stompers game, we think, is the 11 a.m. game, and that would be then followed by Galway and Bear Creek. Those 2 games will be Peter and I. We're going to break up the band for a couple, and then we'll get back together for the nightcap, which will be the winner's bracket final.
Exciting day. Very much looking forward to the weekend. Going to be some great games.
5 big games tomorrow here on Softball Premier TV, and then 3 on Championship Sunday here at the 2023 Canadian Men's National Championship. Called strike 3. Down goes Brody Fraser, and it's not been a great week for the Shooters League MVP.
Supposed to be another beautiful day here tomorrow. At least on the weather app I just looked at, calling for a high of 27 degrees. Got up to 25 or 26, I believe.
It was a beautiful day here today, and as advertised, right around 6 o'clock, it got a little warm here in the broadcast center.
Oh, you should have been here in July. Just ask Mr. Lafrano. He can tell you. I called it the easy bake oven. You could make cookies in here. And we had a different setup, too. We had more of a closed-in scenario.
Yeah, we are definitely enjoying the fresh air here this week.
Yeah, it is just, it's gorgeous. You're out for a walk. If you're watching and you're in the area, would love to see you here at the ballpark. You won't be disappointed.
This one is lifted out to short right on the run, coming hard, dives, and not a catch. And up into second base. The throw goes to nobody in particular. And helping himself to third and had a notion to go home was Patrick Stewart. But he will decide that escaping with 3 bases out of this is the best option. In and out of the glove. You just saw it come out of the glove on the barrel roll. Watch here. It's in the glove there, but then came out and hit the ground. A tremendous effort by Kalen Robinson.
And a great look.
Tremendous camera work by Carol Doreste on our action camera here on Softball Premier TV.
And as Robinson, unfortunately, had somewhat of a similar fate, not to get to the ball, but play in the first inning that he threw it wide of third. Nick White came all the way around to score back in the first. This time, the Angels were able to do a good job of tracking it down and relaying it in, and not the same kind of speed over at third that Nick White possesses, because if it was Nick White, it would be 4-3.
Chris Hopewell, he's got Brody Fraser lined up as the 2-out catcher replacement. Patrick Stewart, I thought that was automatic that you had to replace the catcher, but apparently not in this game. He's staying there. Interesting. And depending on your generation, this is not the Patrick Stewart that played Jean-Luc Picard or Professor X.
I'm not familiar.
Acting, pop culture reference.
Well, I knew it had to be. I'm just not familiar.
Patrick Stewart was Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek The Next Generation.
Never saw it.
And Professor X from the X-Men movies.
Never saw them.
Never seen the X-Men movies
No.
either? Okay, well.
Never saw one Star Trek.
Never.
Never saw Star Wars.
Oh, wow, you've missed out.
Nope. Not a bit. Not a bit. No, the old sci-fi is not my...
Not your bag. And
No.
I know you are a sports fanatic. I thought I was a sports fanatic, and then I got to know you a little bit, and you are a sports fanatic.
Yeah, it's not really always that healthy, to be honest. But I don't apologize for it.
Nor should you.
No.
Because you've done a wonderful job in your 40-year career of bringing audiences worldwide a panoply of Canadiana.
Yeah, I do love that part. And looking forward to spending more time at it before they tell me that I should just beat it and do something else.
Colby Crowell down on strikes. Well, I can't imagine that will ever be the day. And we thank you for all the stuff that you're doing to help us spread the good word about men's fastball, fastball. We're tied at 3 through 5 complete. Top of the 6th, Saskatoon Angels. A couple of zeros have gone up on that scoreboard. Let's see if somebody can get back into the lead. Jordan Hudson, Darren McCullough, Cole Reed for the Saskatoon Angels. And coming up in the nightcap, Zook Loggers, Physio & Co. And I know you've been waiting all week to show that beautiful Physio & Co. logo.
How about Luciano and Carol on Sunday after we are done? They're going to get on a plane. They're going to go to Seattle. They're going to go from Seattle to Miami. And then they're going to go to Barranquilla, Colombia, and then drive another 5 hours to get to the U18 tournament, the Pan American Championship.
And bring a worldwide audience that tournament. Unbelievable, the dedication.
It is incredible. Sport's very lucky to have them. And it's just been a pleasure to spend time with them this summer. Spent a lot of time with them as they were at the helm, technically during the Canada Cup of softball here in July, and now again at the Canadian Senior Men's. And you...
I was just tallying up in my head.
You're like family now.
Well, I was just tallying up in my head. This is my 4th tournament with Luciano this summer. We did the Canada East qualifier. We did the Chiefs Challenge back-to-back weekends in June. And Luciano and Carol stayed with my wife and I and our kids for the week in between. They were apartment hunting in Toronto and have found a place and be taking up residence in Toronto.
My favorite Luciano 2 words together is how he greets you. My friend. My friend.
Followed immediately by a bear hug.
Yeah, just the warmest people you'd ever meet. I love it. If you don't like those 2 people, you don't like humans.
This is Ryan Bicknell stayed in the game after he went into pinch run for Darren McCullough. Both bullpens are occupied at the moment. David Bubba Watson, who's on about his 4th inning of relief in the bullpen for the Mastodons. Nick Patrick, I think, on his 3rd for
This is good. I wanted a chance to see. We've seen Bicknell run. I haven't seen him hit. And very excited to get a peek at that part of his game. I know he can scoot. And I know he hit .591 for Saskatchewan at the Canada Summer Games, which is certainly nothing to go unnoted. So excited to see the completion of this at-bat.
Well, ball 4 had a notion, and look at this, turning on the Jets as that squirted away from Patrick Stewart. Look at anybody pinch running for him, that's for sure.
Blair, we've talked about, this game is at the highest level, such a power game. But I get really excited when I see Nick White or Ryan Bicknell and, others who might be able in your future to give you a very different dimension.
Well, you think about the changes that Major League Baseball did to bring back the stolen base and how exciting Major League Baseball has become this year. The speed-up rules, some of which came from softball, some of which are being adopted back by softball. And all of us agree that that's a good idea. I wouldn't be adverse to seeing more stolen bases in the game. Speaking of, out at second, a great throw from Patrick Stewart and a great tag by the shortstop, Rowan Sears, as he come across. Watch the tag here. This is a great play by Sears. Just dropped it on him. Bicknell, a little sour look as he was not happy to be caught.
If he stays down a little more actually on the slide, he's probably safe. That is some throw by Stewart.
Yeah, he made a laser beam throw. Good job by Sears, and then Sears handles the pop-up off the bat of Cole Reed. First pitch swinging. So, turns out to be a 1-2-3 inning for the Angels in the top of the 6th. We'll go to the home half. The Mastodons scoring in binary, 1s and 0s. See if they can put another one up and take the lead. Jake Hopewell, Rowan Sears, Braden Woodworth, 7, 8, 9 in the order for the East Hants Shooters Bar and Grill Mastodons. I got to find out where the Shooters Bar and Grill is. Maybe I'll make a visit there when I'm there in a couple of weeks.
I'm sure you'd be welcomed with open arms, like everywhere else in the men's softball community. You're like a bit of a folk hero, my friend, that I've witnessed this week.
Wish.
Hey, Blair. Hey, Blair. Hey, Blair. I love it. I always say it's a privilege and an honor to be involved in these kind of events.
Jake Hopewell punches that foul down the left side. It absolutely is. And started out doing this 20 years ago. And I've always lived by do this because you want to honor the players on the field.
Well, you played yourself, you coached for a long time. It's been a massive part of your life and continues to be. And I think the exciting opportunity is the men's side has obviously gone through some trials and tribulations. You know, when baseball became a little more prevalent in our country, things changed. But when I see some of the young kids I've seen here this week, that tells me that the future is bright. And I think the more people have an opportunity to watch events like this, and I think it's really important to present your sport in the most professional way because it makes a difference. It really does.
And that's where Luciano and Carroll have been so critical the last couple of years.
So
that
true.
They have come on board and have been able to present major league quality, in my estimation, major league quality broadcasts for our viewing audience. And we hope everybody takes the opportunity at some point just to drop them a note to say thank you, to say gracias.
My friend.
Up the middle, and it ricochets off both the shortstop and the second baseman, and going coast to coast is Jake Hopewell, but Rowan Sears.
Who needs Eatons when you've got Sears?
There you go.
Here's a very unique play. Goes by the shortstop, caroms off the second baseman, and originally I thought it might have got a piece of the bag too, but upon second glance it did not. And the Mastodons, the winner of this game, will finish third in its group. And as you mentioned, Souk will be favored to win the next game, but There's always a reason, I find, in sports why they play them.
Well, we looked through this Newfoundland physio lineup, and it's not like they've been getting shut out every game. They've been scoring runs. There's some guys here in this lineup that can hit. Mark Stack, Jeremy O'Reilly, I coached back in 2018, 2019, and even earlier than that with the Gators. And some good young ball players here. The Healy kid I'm really keen to see pitching, as he's somebody that I've heard touted down in the St. John's League too. So, and a great experience. I mean, coming all the way across the country. I talked to Sean Cleary this morning, and he flew St. John's to Montreal and then Montreal to Vancouver. That's a 6-hour flight in and of itself, and add another 2.5. He spent a shift flying just to get here.
Yeah, it's as far as you can get in our country.
Runners on the corners, nobody out here in the bottom of the 6th. Tie game, Mastodons. Nova Scotia and the Saskatoon Angels. Jordan Hudson,
I was just going to say, he's gone the whole way.
Just misses downstairs, and there's going to be big opportunities, as we're going to see big turnover in Team Canada after 2025. And a guy like Jordan Hudson, Riley Mannion, Reese Yancey, 3 guys who are on the U23 team, all of them are going to be in contention for some of those spots that will open up over the next few years. You still got guys like Zach Zippy Pierce who are in the midst of their careers. Pat Burns is somebody that could potentially work his way back into that mention, as well as a walk to the 9-batter Woodworth will load the bases. We'll go back to the top of the shop for Nick White. 2 for 3, a single, a double, a run scored back in the first, and lightning quick out on the mound. And Jordan Hudson doesn't seem to be giving up the ball anytime soon here. They might have to take it from him.
Well, I haven't seen anybody warming up for a while.
No, Nick Patrick was there last inning, but I don't see him stirring in the dugout at this moment either. So
he wants it. He's going to take it. Thought he was going to, but then he didn't.
So Dave McCullough will head back to the dugout. Jordan Hudson will have to get out of this jam on his own, at least for one more batter. Nick White, fourth appearance now, 4th at bat in the game. Big opportunity for the youngster to put his team in the lead. Lashes this one foul down the left side, first pitch.
Well, when you run the way he does, you put a ball in play, you have a chance to find your way to first. He's right now more concerned about driving a ball through a drawn-in infield to give his team the lead.
Big hole between first and second, too. If he pulls the ball, he'll get it through there. Brett Casey, Jesse Osika are about 38 feet apart.
Except the way the pitching pattern is gone, they're definitely playing him to try and force him to go the other way. They've gone outside on every single pitch of this at-bat, including the first one that he fouled off.
Well, it's not a bad strategy. You've got 2 good arms over on the left side with Cole Reed and Justin Laskowski. And again, to the outside and called strike 3, Nick White. Other than that foul ball, couldn't get the bat off his shoulder.
No, that is an at-bat that he'll learn from and would like to have back again, and a very determined Hudson. That's a terrific pitch.
Right on the outside corner.
And we're going to get a change from Mr. Hopewell.
Is it Schofield coming in to hit? It's not. Brett Larson.
Brett Larson from Irma.
Yeah, well, he's been the DP all along. I think he's just being returned to the game. I think they pinched. No, they didn't. I'm not sure what that was about then. But Larson's been in the game all along.
And I love the competitive nature of Hudson here. You can tell that even when Dave McCullough was out talking to him, he was bound and determined, and he had a little extra intensity in the delivery here.
Well, some of the best pitches he's thrown in the game have come in the last couple of sequences. That was a really good job he did with Nick White to keep the ball in the outside corner. Larson fouls this one off into the screen, and they're definitely trying to keep the ball away from these left-handed batters.
This is Jordan's first appearance on the board, as you like to refer to it, in the circle. And in a battle right now, trying to keep his Saskatoon Angels even with the Mastodons.
Somebody yelled check it, but he got the called strike on it regardless. So 2-2.
Travis Nevin on deck.
Swing and a miss. Down goes Brett Larson, and he is 2/3 of the way, Peter, to working out of this. Strikeout looking, strikeout swinging, and now to face his counterpart, Travis Nevin. He's been on board twice. Had a hard hit single back in the third, but down on strikes.
Again, the location from Hudson was excellent.
Third successive left-handed batter, and again the setup is outside. And why mess with success right now?
Stand down and away, that's been the sequence on the first two hitters, and he's retired both of them with strikeouts.
Off the plate, ball one. And fouls this one back a little too much at the plate with that one.
And Travis had a good cut at it. He has an opportunity to help his own cause with a base hit here. Two down.
Little bleeder on the infield. Hudson will flip to first for the out. They work out of that bases loaded jam, and a great sequence from Jordan Hudson too. A big round of applause from the crowd here.
Well, you can't do it any better than the 24-year-old just did. A couple of strikeouts, induced a ground ball, and we remain even through six.
fastball world. Doug Roberts, Ken Poole, amongst others down there. They make the rounds from tournament to tournament. And good on them. Lifetime supporters.
I wonder if our friend from the Pittsburgh area, who I met,
Tim Maz,
is watching. If he is, I'd like to say hello. And by the way, your mustard is terrific.
For those that don't know, Tim Mariaz, Pennsylvania, as you said.
Pennsylvania
Tim makes his way across the Midwest into southern Ontario, into the other Great Lakes states. Was at 11 tournaments this year. And has an in at the Cleveland ballpark with the ballpark mustard that they serve there. And gets it by the case and brings it to the tournaments and hands out bottles of mustard.
Yes.
And it is fabulous.
It is really good.
I have been the recipient of a bottle of mustard every year for about the last half dozen.
Now, I didn't have the heart to tell him this when he gave it to me, but generally, I love mustard, but I'm a straight up mustard. I'm not big into the Dijon but this combo is that is good mustard.
It is outstanding.
I want a hot dog.
Really
I want a bratwurst right now.
Brett Casey down on strikes while we talk hot dog condiments.
I promise I'll get serious again in the next game.
Back to the top of the shop, Kalen Robinson. This is the first at-bat he's had that he actually hasn't been leading off an inning. I don't know why that is statistically significant, but it was to me at the time. Little bleeder on the infield. Nevin bobbles it twice, and that's enough for him to just put it into his glove and say, forget about it.
Yeah, short hopped him, picked it up, but Robinson runs really well, and there was absolutely no opportunity to get Kalen. And Saskatoon has the go-ahead runner at first base after the throw made recently by Patrick Stewart to get the very speedy Ryan Bicknell. I'm not sure they're going to give that a try, although Robinson can run.
James Shirley squares and bunts it over the head of the hard-charging Jake Hopewell, but it goes foul. No worse feeling as a charging infielder to see the bunt sail over your head.
Yeah, there's only one that would make you feel worse, and that's when the batter slaps a ball and it has a chance to take a big bite out of you. That's not a fun thing to stare at either.
Inside to Shirley, 1-1.
Well, the Nova Scotia squad loaded the bases with nobody out in the bottom of the sixth and could not score against Jordan Hudson.
Travis Nevin rears back and throws one right by James Shirley.
I have to track someone down, and I should have done it already, to find out if there is truly that connection with Jim Shirley, with the Jim Shirley in Saskatoon.
Chopper on the infield. Hopewell snares it. They go to 2 for 1. The return throw a step and a half late as James Shirley beats that one out. But that's a good alert play by Hopewell with his momentum taking him that way to stop Plant and make a good throw, and a strong throw back by Sears too.
Pretty good turn by Sears over there to come to the inside of the bag. You're generally taught in that case to come inside or drag moving away on the other side, depending on where the ball is given you.
Well, they did not give him the out at the bag. And do we have the replay again at second base? The replay one more time? Oh, okay. Sorry.
They just walked Laskowski.
So they walked Laskowski. That's what it is.
Interesting.
So the 4-pitch automatic walk for ball, automatic walk to Laskowski. Thanks to Mike Brancheau for alerting us to that, because I thought that they were putting the runner back out there.
And Osika with a chance to give his team the lead.
Chopper on the infield. Levi beats Laskowski to the bag by an eyelash. Levi Denny. And boy, that was closer than it could have been. Or should have been. They get out of the inning, but made it close.
Oh, we have a little drama here.
Yeah, the gamble pays off, and we're going to go to the bottom of the 7th. The Mastodons, opportunity to walk it off. Brody Fraser will look to get untracked here. 3 strikeouts tonight for Brody. Uncharacteristic for this young man. Fouls that one straight back to the screen. That's a good swing that he put on that one.
Well, it would give him a lot of confidence going into the playoff round if he could deliver a hit. 0 for 3 in the game. You mentioned with the 3 strikeouts, as Hudson has thrown well, despite giving up 10 hits. Doesn't seem like he's given up that many.
He's just scattered them around. They haven't really bunched anything together. They got a run in the first, another in the second, and the fourth.
Brody Fraser now 3 for 16 in the tournament. He does have a couple of runs batted in. All 3 of his hits were singles, according to the stat sheet.
Played a number of tournaments with the Alvinston Aces on the circuit this summer. Pitches, hits, plays corner infield.
We've talked off the air, too, about in the national men's team cycle, and he's got a ways to go. He doesn't even turn 20 until the 17th of November. But third base is a spot that...
Yeah, that's a wide open spot, and that's why I was curious to see Laskowski there tonight with the retirement of Derek Mason from the national team. And a walk by Brody Fraser, so he gets aboard. Leadoff walk will come around to score about 66% of the time, according to my good friend Joe Todd. Patrick Stewart to the plate. Had that crazy 3-base experience in the 5th, but they couldn't bring him around.
Made a dynamite throw from his catcher position to get Ryan Bicknell on a steal attempt. earlier in the game, and let's see if he can potentially deliver for the Mastodons as Chris Hopewell goes through the signs for his runner, Fraser at first.
Gets down the bunt, fielded by Laskowski. Did it hit the bat twice is the question.
And
dead ball, so I'm going to make the assumption that they've all picked up on that.
And the arms were in the air, starting with a home plate umpire right off the hop.
Yeah, good call by the Blue Crew. Chris Hopewell. Hand the bat back to Pat Stewart. Great story about Pat Stewart working with Justin Schofield as Schofield was getting ready to go down to New Zealand. Single-degree weather, Stewart would drive an hour to catch Schofield every night. And this time, this one is foul and behind the plate.
If you see this bunt attempt, Blair, you need to get your hands more out in front.
Yeah, too close to the body.
Too close, and also the angle of the bat is almost on those two bunt attempts at like a 45-degree angle. It's all about taking it in and cushioning it.
Little bleeder on the infield. The snap throw by Laskowski over to two, and they get the lead runner. So some good defense by the Saskatoon Angels, and that failed bunt attempt is costly as Brody Fraser is out at second base.
Laskowski has a strong arm. There was not a lot of time, and if you're going to go there to get the lead runner, you better be sure.
Yeah, you better commit to it, and he threw a dart into second base. Kobe Crowell chases way upstairs.
Tried to hit that to Antigonish.
On the coast in Nova Scotia for you geographically puzzled.
Kobe was not cheated on that first swing.
In a hole, 0-2. Jordan Hudson looked strong all night. Crowell, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. A 3-pitch strikeout.
Thank you, John Walton.
He will go run for Patrick Stewart, and that's a good trade for Nova Scotia. Crowell, very good wheels.
Just a reminder, this game for positioning, not overly important in the whole scheme of things, whether you finish third or whether you finish fourth. The Souk Loggers have a chance in the final game to nail down the last remaining playoff spot.
Kobe Crowell swipes second from under the noses of the Angels. Nobody from anywhere that I could hear, Peter, yelled going.
It was pretty quiet if it was.
Jim Shirley didn't even attempt a throw. Jake Hopewell at the plate. Now Shirley and Hudson will talk it over very quickly and briefly. Get the plate cleaned. Hopewell's been aboard his last two appearances, a double and a walk. Swings through on that one. He's had a couple of big base hits for the Mastodons, going back to that first game all the way back Wednesday afternoon. Brought around a couple of runs for the Mastodons. And that one is way upstairs.
Hudson's throwing as hard right now as he has at any time in this game, and his intensity has gone way up, and he's been in some very tough situations the last few innings, too.
Well, that bases loaded jam with nobody out in the 6th. Worked out of that one and works out of this one as he strikes out Jake Hopewell and strands Bobby Crowell at second base. Let's go to extra innings, shall we, to determine who's going to finish third in this pool. Nick Patrick then, because and Zippy. Laced. That Kutnikoff scores. Devin McCullough, of all people, who was the international tiebreaker runner. He's only out there for one pitch and trots around to score easily. That's Kutnikoff picks up another RBI.
I will say I find it a little interesting to see some key pitchers running the bases in this game. Not that they are not capable. Devin can absolutely run.
And is a very good athlete. But I guess the question would be, who's going to pitch if this game keeps going on? Because they've used Zach Pierce. They've now used Nick Patrick up as he had a plate appearance and he can't re-enter. So Devin McCullough would be the guy you'd have to go to in the event you needed to relieve Jordan Hudson somehow, some way.
Well, I just don't think you do. And in fact, my larger concern, Blair, wouldn't have been who's going to come in to pitch. It would be, are you risking a little
Oh, definitely.
injury?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, about the injury side of things. But
yeah.
I mean, if something, God forbid, happens to Jordan Hudson, who do you go to? Well, you're going to have to go to Devin McCullough now.
Honestly, I wouldn't. I might go to a position player.
That's always an option.
I don't want to I don't want to devalue the game. It's just I need my best guy to be ready to go in game one of the playoffs. Because I just don't see a lot of difference in whether you finish third or fourth. I think you're going to get a pretty good opponent. Might give the edge to Grand Prairie over Souk in some respects, but when you think about, well, first of all, Souk has to get there. They're not clinched yet. They have to win the next game to do it. But when I think about the top five in the Souk order, Blair, I'm not sure that's a great place to go either.
No, there's no prize in whomever you're going to play in these top 8 teams. Anybody is capable of beating anybody else on any given Sunday, as the phrase goes.
And I could actually see Souk being a very dangerous group.
Well, they've been to the championship game multiple times against Galway. Haven't been able to get through Galway, but they've been there. It's Jordan Hudson down on strikes.
And just because if that big five really gets on a roll at the top of their order, I think they're a dangerous group.
Oh, without a doubt.
You know, when you're talking about Waugh, Walushka, Blake Hunter, Brian Avery, Derek Mason.
Well, any two of those guys can carry a team to a victory quite easily.
Now, again, it was the same question I would have had coming into the event when you looked at the rosters and, you know, wondered would their pitching be able to deliver. And I'm not sure Brady Woods has had the kind of results that the way he has pitched would indicate.
Yeah, he has been strong for stretches, but he hasn't gone the full game yet.
No. And really, in games he only gave up a few hits. He's been a little susceptible to the long ball. That's what has gotten him in trouble in some of the games. And look out, Wood people.
Look out for your iPad as that ball takes a tough bounce off the tent and finds a path to...
Like, are you kidding that just happened? Are you kidding me? Ball came off the roof,
off the tent,
and just took my iPad down. And I hope it's not broken. It is fairly new. No, I do not want to keep the ball. Because if I get the ball, it's probably going to get to a spot that it doesn't need to go. But I think I'm okay. Listen, if somebody's upset at me being here, there's a different way to do it.
We'll let you plug that back in, too.
Just like its owner, it's resilient. At least I'm hoping it is. Looks to be okay. That was we needed a shot of that. You don't see that every day.
No. That was like one of those commercials where they...
Yes.
Yeah.
Off the roof, off the tent, and off the iPad. Welcome to Apple.
Another one fouled straight back to the screen. Cole Reed having a good battle here with Travis Nevin. Angels already with a run in the 8th as Matt Kutnikoff delivered a first pitch single to score Devin McCullough out pinch running. Reed swings and misses for the third out.
Nevin's thrown a nice game. My first peek at him, 32-year-old veteran. And he has acquitted himself nicely.
We'll go to the home half. Mastodons need to score one or more. To the bottom of the 8th we go. Suk and Physio are what's coming up. But first, we've got to get through the bottom of the 8th inning.
Blair, it would almost figure that the day that we came the earliest will be the night that we leave the latest. Although we did have a lovely break this afternoon.
And we got to do a terrific game this morning.
Yes,
so
we sure did.
No regrets.
None, zero.
Rowan Sears at the plate. Jake Hopewell is out at second base as the ITB runner, as a bleeder on the infield. And that's as good as a bunt as they move Hopewell up to third base.
Well, we have witnessed Jordan Hudson getting us to this point with bear down innings, bases loaded, nobody out in the 6th. The winning run was at second in inning number 7 for the Nova Scotia East Hants Mastodons. Can he do it again?
He'll have to go through Braden Woodworth first. Braden an RBI single in the 2nd, and this one is lifted out to left, and that's going to fall in, and we got ourselves a tie ball game again.
Well, don't tell these two teams that this game isn't relevant. Pitch in on the hands. And Braden, fights it off into left to tie the game.
Nick White to the plate, the top of the shop, and a big swing comes up empty. Peter, here's where you want to take advantage of the speed that you've got in the base pass. Something into the gap. There's a called strike 0-2 on Nick White, but something into the gap potentially gives Woodworth a chance to race around the base pass.
If I was coaching, which I'm not, Nick White, in his future, I would spend some time becoming a better slap hitter and bunter.
Chases upstairs, strike 3 on Nick White. I hear what you're saying, and there are very, very few of those types of hitters and players in the game these days. There's a kid out in Argentina, Alan Pecker, who has all the physical tools to do that, but you don't see him do it all that often. And we talked about that with Matty Waugh. He's got all the tools to do that. Does it occasionally, drops down a bunt. Doesn't slap very much, but drops down a bunt. You think of the slap hitters back in the day.
Bill Boyer is probably the greatest I ever saw.
Yeah, Bill Boyer and, oh God, I'm struggling for the name. Played for the Farm. We just put him in the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. It'll come to me. Was one of the best slap hitters around. But he's really the most recent one that I can think of. I can't think of anybody in the last 15 years who mostly slap hits anymore.
Well, I just think it's a bit of a lost art. And when you run as well as Nick White does, to add that to your arsenal, Blair, we spent a lot of time this week talking about, the Canadian program moving forward and how you might separate yourself. Well, one way you make teams in all kinds of aspects is what can you do better than someone else?
On the move, here's Woodworth, and he easily swipes second base. Paul Rosebush was who I was struggling to remember, and that's the last guy that I can think of was a mostly slap hitter.
Another national team member for Canada. And Paul Rosebush was a terrific hockey player. He won a Canadian University Hockey Championship, I believe at the University of Acadia.
Well, and was a professional hockey player with the Bakersfield Condors out in California and lives out there now. Downstairs through the wickets and up to third comes Woodworth, and now suddenly 60 feet away is the game-winning run. Not that I'm foreshadowing anything, but I've only seen one run that I can think of here in the games we've done, Peter, that have scored on a wild pitch pass ball. But that's suddenly a possibility. A full count, 2 out. Chopper on the infield, high hopper, Laskowski. That's not Laskowski, but he gunned him out nonetheless.
And we'll go to the 9th. Suk and Physio and Co.
They'll have to wait.
That has playoff implications, and they will have to wait. Welcome back. Peter Lubardius, Blair Setford, and we are set for inning number 9 in a 4-4 tie. Both teams in the first extra inning managed to score a run apiece.
So Brett Casey at the plate in the 9 spot. He turns to squares and drops down a good one past a charging third baseman, but a great play by the shortstop. Rowan Sears came out of nowhere to pick that up and guns him out at first.
He had to come a long way, and look at the strong, quick throw. That's a marvelous play.
And that is a big out to get. And the infield way in tight now with the runner at third. And top of the shop, Kalen Robinson. He swings at a rise ball up and in. And Peter, I've been in this spot as a coach, and the Toronto Gators were in this spot in 2015. And with 1 out, we walked the next 2 guys to set up the force.
Yep.
And then got out of the inning. Hard hit on the infield, bobbled. Turns and flips to first. They get the out there, but the run does come in to score. Make it 5-4. He was going to have a shot at the plate, too, because that was sharply hit by Robinson. They get the out at first. Shirley will come to the plate with the bases now empty.
There was a play to be made if that's handled cleanly. It wasn't. And Nevin with a great drop ball.
Bubba Watson up again. He's thrown probably 200 pitches in the bullpen by now. Change up from Nevin and a real good one.
And Watson, another guy I'd like to see come in just so I can watch him in person.
Travis Nevin up to 123 pitches.
That's a few.
He has a ways to go to get into Huemo Mata territory. High hopper on the infield, but that's foul. Patrick Stewart out from behind the plate. One of the few guys that doesn't wear the chest protector. Those guys are few and far between these days.
It's the longest game you've ever seen.
$15 innings that I think I've called. 14 maybe?
Well, we're not headed down that road, I can tell you that.
I wouldn't think so. Swings and misses upstairs, strike 3. Angels get another one. Mastodons will have to respond in the bottom of the 9th. We go. Stay tuned on Softball Premier TV.
Saskatoon scores in the top of the 9th. And we'll see if Nova Scotia can answer in the bottom half with a runner starting at second, which is the tie-breaking rule.
It's Levi Denny, who is the flex player, has gone to run for Larson, the designated player. And that is a dead ball foul at the plate.
Talking about longest games, the longest game I ever witnessed in the Canadian Senior Men's Championship with my own 2 eyes was one of my all-time favorites, Ginter versus McWillie, 20 innings in the 1980 Canadian Championship. Won on a double off the left field wall at Gordie Howe Park by Wayne Wallace, who had struck out 7 previous times before he ended it.
That's not even a golden sombrero. That's like a cobalt one. Trying to steal third and in safely as that squirted away from Shirley just a couple of feet. And some good base running there by Levi Denny.
Good strong throw. He recovered well.
Well, now you've got a whole bunch of options by getting him over there with nobody out. Infield is in. Called a strike. Laskowski is over at second base now. And at third is Taylor Hill. It was Taylor who made that nice play at the end of the previous inning. This one is punch foul down the left side.
Even when you're a ball player down there in foul territory, don't try to catch it without a glove.
No, do not stick out the bare hand.
Nope, not a good idea.
Swing and a miss. Down on strikes. Travis Nevin. And Brody Fraser with an opportunity to win the game for the Mastodons. And that would certainly lift his spirits.
Has a chance to tie the game at 5.
Yeah, we should probably talk about tying it before we win it. Jordan Hudson, who has worked into and out of trouble all night long.
He could not do it in a similar situation in the 8th. But we arrived at this point in part because he got himself out of a bases loaded, no out situation in the bottom of the 6th.
Misses downstairs. I'm reminded by Randy Frame that Todd King was another good slap hitter.
Very nice.
Todd King from Nova Scotia.
Remember him.
Fouled off by Fraser. Keeps the count 2-2.
Well, you're a little antsy if you're those next two teams, aren't you? Still vying to play tomorrow, both of them, in fact.
Called strike 3. Brody Fraser. Tough night for the cleanup batter for the Mastodons.
Just for a second, I thought it was a ball.
It was a late call. It absolutely was. A bit of a delay. Patrick Stewart fouls that one off out of play. It seems like he's been involved in a bunch of things here tonight, especially in the later innings. Levi Denny is the runner at third base. He's the game-tying run, and yes, he did go around, says the home plate umpire. Is in tight.
Jordan Hudson wanted that pitch, Blair, so bad. He ended up about 9 feet from home plate. He was on a sprint.
And this one misses downstairs, so let's run it to 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hudson, a pitch away, a strike away from the Saskatoon Angels, claiming third place for a playoff round matchup tomorrow. Let's run the count to full. Ratchet up that tension just a little bit more, will you please?
Jordan going to fix one of the large holes that he's helped create himself.
Yeah, it is very pockmarked out there in front of the board. Downstairs, ball 4, a good at bat by the veteran Pat Stewart.
Remember, it was a 0-2 count.
A good take Kobe Crowell to the plate. Kobe has chased pitches upstairs his last 3 at bats.
Does have a hit in the game.
All the way back in the second. Levi Denny still out at third base. And Crowell takes ball 1 on the inside.
Souk and Physio and Co. from Newfoundland still to come.
Hudson pours in a strike. And again, the Angels a strike away from ending this extra innings affair. Just misses on the inside corner. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, a walk-off in our last game. A great one that we called at 9:30. And now we're in the 9th inning. 2-2.
Some courage to take that pitch with 2 strikes. Full count. And again, let's do a full count.
Why wouldn't we?
Crowell will foul this one out of play. Well out on the right side. Spoils. Hudson gets a new ball. Stewart is still out at first, the catcher being able to run for himself, but the attention is Kobe Crowell swings and misses. That's the ball game. Jordan Hudson goes 9 strong. Saskatoon Angels with a 5-4 come from behind win over the Nova Scotia Mastodons. Back and forth they went through 9 innings. Peter Labardius took a long time to get here. The Angels claimed 3rd place.
It did, but you really have to tip your cap in many ways to both teams. They went with different lineups. And credit Jordan Hudson. Excellent work in the 6th. And I think kind of fitting that he shut the door with a strikeout to finally end it after 9 innings.
For Peter Labardius, Luciano Lafrano, Carol Doreste, Softball Premier TV. I'm Blair Setford. Thanks for joining us for this one. Got one more to go. Souk Loggers, Newfoundland Physio. Come back and join us. 20-ish minutes.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas. Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now. SoftballPremierTV.com